there's
Oh,
also
'cause he's
a
been-
June
had it for 2 years.
8th one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish that the
So-
whole commission were here, because that would make it a
This
little
one,
bit better.
it does say
Yeah,
this,
totally. For purposes of the
but
conversation.
it doesn't,
But I
it
would
doesn't
request that maybe either
it's on.
Kimberly or John
It's just kind of like some type of wooden bracket.
yourself for vice chair, and if you don't want it, you can,
Oh,
we can
okay.
always
All I
revisit
know
it.
there really is like
Yeah. That's right.
But just for
This is the latest.
We're not exactly making
You
a
might have just done like one revision for one.
vote someone out later.
That's right. Or someone can step down. More likely, yeah.
Oh, okay. yeah.
Anybody can be impeached.
So,
That's right. Yes, nobody's in, yeah. Nobody's bulletproof over here. All right. Okay, everybody. Good evening, everyone. I would like to bring to order the July 17th, 2024 meeting of the Sandwich Conservation Commission. My name is Kimberly Walsh, and present tonight are commissioners
Cam Murphy. James Andrea.
Jonathan Klein.
Linda Romano.
Great, okay, and I would like to appoint Linda Romano as a full voting member tonight. I would also like to designate Cameron Murphy
Okay, I'll
as the
do it.
as the timekeeper. Before we begin, please note that this meeting is being recorded live and streaming at sandwichtv.org. It is also being broadcast on local channel 9. As such, when speaking, please make sure that you use the microphone up here. I'd like to remind everyone of the format to be followed during all meetings. For all new hearings, the applicant will present for no more than 3 minutes. There will be no crosstalk between opposing sides or members of the public. Applicants will address the board only after being recognized by the chair. Please do not interject while the board is deliberating unless asked a specific question. And for public comment, again, please be recognized by the chair. Then go to the mic, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 1 to 2 minutes to state your comments. Please don't duplicate other comments that have just been made. And again, direct your statements to the board and not to each other. Finally, I want to remind everyone that this commission is comprised of your neighbors who have given up their time to help protect our town's natural resources. Our job is to ensure the provisions of the Wetlands Protection Act as well as the town's bylaws are upheld. Again, as volunteers, we do this to the best of our ability. We appreciate your understanding. So I would like to move on to the first order of business. We are going to elect a new chair and new vice chair. So I will make a motion to elect James Andrea as our new chair for the Sandwich Conservation Commission.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go.
hand over the gavel.
That's right. Where's my gavel?
I would like to elect or appoint a vice chair. Elect a vice chair. Kimberly or John? Do you have any volunteers?
Sure.
You want to take it?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to elect John. I'm sorry. Last name.
You need me to say?
Yes.
Oh, I would like to nominate myself for the vice chair position for the Sandwich Conservation.
Full name. Your full name, John.
I would like to nominate myself, Jonathan Klein,
There you go.
for the vice chair position of the Sandwich Conservation Commission.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. I would like to open up a presentation by AmeriCorps on the trail maintenance efforts.
Perfect. Nice.
Yeah, you can tweak that thing, it's.
We're off to a good start here. Is that good? Thank you, Sean. Hello, everybody. My name is Sam O'Neill. I am a member of AmeriCorps Cape Cod. First of all, thank you all, members of the commission, for welcoming me tonight. Thank you, Josh, for inviting me. I'm here to talk to you tonight about the Sandwich DNR's conservation efforts this year in regards to their partnership with AmeriCorps Cape Cod. If we get the first slide. Aquaculture has been a huge part of AmeriCorps' service this year with the department. It's been a big part of my personal service at the DNR. On the left and right there, you see the department's oyster cages as well as its oyster trays out in Mill Creek. We spent a lot of time out there this year. It's been a lot of fun. It's especially fun when Josh starts singing sea shanties, which he apparently knows many of. In the middle there, you see one of our service days out in Mill Creek back in November. In the middle left, you see some members culling legal oyster stock from sublegal stock and separating it into different trays. On the right, you see us trudging through the mud there to drag one of the trays up onto the sandbar so that we can start culling. Culling is a huge part of what we do out there, making sure that legal and sublegal stock are in separate trays. Recently, the department just got its new oyster seed in. We spent a lot of time out there in the cages, getting them clean, getting rid of mussel fouling, making sure the little oysters have room to grow, and I know Josh is going to take really good care of them in the next year here. Aquaculture's been a huge part of our service here, as well as the department's partnership with AmeriCorps this year as well. The next slide. Trailblazing has also been a huge part of, particularly our group service projects this year. Kind of hard to tell what properties we're looking at there, sorry about that, but where you see the yellow blazing, that is at Maple Swamp, where we recently blazed all the cart paths out there. The blue and the purple is Maple Swamp as well, where we reblazed the Ridgeway Trail, making it much easier to get around. It's one of the more confusing trails out there. On the left, the blue blazing is at Talbot's Point. Trailblazing has been a big part of our group service projects this year. We can hit the next slide. Trail signs as well has been a huge part of what I've done with the department this year. On the left there, you see some new signs that we put up at the Briar Patch property. The middle left is the Briar Patch as well, Discovery Loop Trail and the Gully Trail. On the right, you see signs for the new South Loop Trail at Cook's Farm, which was cut last year by AmeriCorps, recut this year, also by AmeriCorps, and we also blazed that trail and put up some new signs as well. Next one. And trail maintenance is, of course, a huge part of what the department does, as well as AmeriCorps' service with the department. The top left there, you see my colleague Hannah dealing with some storm damage at Talbot's Point. On the top middle right, sorry, a little confusing, that is one of our service days at Cook's Farm. The very top right is one of our service days at the Briar Patch. The bottom left is Talbot's Point as well. One of the really cool things about all these things that AmeriCorps does and the department does as well, trailblazing, trail signs, maintaining the trails, it's of course to just maintain these properties for their intended purpose, conserving land for the creatures and plant species that live there, but also providing access to the public as well, so that everybody can enjoy and share and hopefully learn a little bit from these properties. Next slide. The Town Neck Service Day was a really big project that we worked on this year with the department. We got out on Town Neck, I believe it was in March, in the pouring rain and freezing cold. I personally thought it was a lot of fun. I don't think many of my fellow members would agree with me, but the top right, you see all of the driftwood that was pulled off the beach last year. This has been kind of an ongoing project for the department, I think last 3 years, right? Something like that. The really cool part about all that driftwood that got pulled off last year and that Josh and I organized at the start of this year is that we were able to repurpose a lot of those 6x6s to make new posts to put trail signs on. And the top left is all the stuff that we pulled off of the beach this year. I'm sure a lot of that's going to get repurposed as well. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have anything to do with emptying that trailer next year, but I'm sure I'll get over it. Next slide is the Town Neck Service Day continued, just some of the pictures from that service day. That middle picture is my very favorite photo I've ever taken of Josh. Disheveled and rain-soaked. And he's actually there hauling a piece of plastic paneling with Sandwich's own Sophie Gallagher, recent graduate of Sandwich High. Awesome AmeriCorps member. It was a tough day. It was cold, it was rainy, it was windy. We were hauling those big 6x6s, waterlogged 6x6s, some 12 feet long that you see on the right there. Out of humility, I didn't include any of the photos of me carrying those 6x6s by myself, but... and on the left there, you see Christy with one of our members setting up some shorebird fencing, which was also a really big part of AmeriCorps' service with the town this year. We set up fencing here at Town Neck, Scorton Shores, Spring Hill, East Sandwich Beach. I'm sure I'm forgetting at least one.
Those are the big
And that's also, a huge part of what the department does and what AmeriCorps has been able to do with the department as well, protecting and providing nesting habitat for threatened shorebirds like piping plovers and least terns. And if you get the next slide, that is everything I have for you tonight. Thank you very much. That's a beautiful photo of our last service day at Maple Swamp, where we were able to widen a lot of trails, blaze some trails, and thank you all. Thank you, the commission, for having me tonight. Thank you for what you do and helping to protect conservation land here in Sandwich, and thank you, Josh, for having me tonight.
Cool. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might just add here, Sam's done a fabulous job working in our office this year as our AmeriCorps service member, and this is a program that we've been involved with, fortunately, for over 10 years. And it's always wonderful to have a service member serve in office who's able to be immersed in the world of conservation, aquaculture, bird protection, and gain a lot of skills, but also really provide a hugely valuable service to the town. And so, when you see these photos, these are just really small snapshots of months of hard work that Sam has done and that other service members have done in other towns throughout the Cape. But a lot of the stuff here, when it comes to conservation properties, is really about accessibility, about getting more people into the properties, about allowing the public to value them as they should, and be able to enjoy them as they should. And so AmeriCorps helps us out with a lot of that. So we owe them a debt of gratitude.
Well, hopefully that partnership continues.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
I think I speak for everyone. Thank you very much for you and your colleagues' efforts. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay, moving on. Under new filings, I would like to open DEP file number SE 66-2002, Brian Albano, care of GeoCape Environmental Consultants, that have filed a notice of intent to raise and replace a dwelling and install a 4-bedroom septic system at 7 Barbara Lane in Sandwich, Mass, located at map 70, parcel 140. How we doing?
Good evening. Glenn Harrington, representing the Albanos and property at 7 Barbara Lane. With me tonight is Ann McNevich, the designer of the new structure. John Doyle, the land surveyor, did the base plan, and Walter Burke from Burke's Excavating was hired to do the site work. So this project was started out just as back in last October, just for a 3-bedroom upgrade with an RDA, and now when the Albanos purchased the property over the turn of the year, they wish to tear down the existing house and propose a 4-bedroom. So there was a previous notice of intent that was submitted. That was submitted for the 4-bedroom septic system only because the bank was going to hold them to an April deadline to have the septic system in, and then they were able to have the bank give them an extension. So that notice of intent was withdrawn, and now you have the notice of intent for the new dwelling and the 4-bedroom septic before you. Just a quick summary on the site. It's an approximate half-acre property. Majority of it is in an AE14 flood zone. The northern part that fronts on Barbara Lane is not in the flood zone, or it's in flood zone X. The 4-bedroom septic system that is proposed is in the same location as the approved 3-bedroom system, just that the leaching has been expanded for the 4 bedrooms. I did meet Josh out at the property, and we discussed the project, and he gave me some insight on, recommended some mitigation, so the mitigation was shown on the plan. And with that, I open it up to questions. I have additional paper copies if you want to review it on paper. So,
Thank you. I would like to open public comment. Okay, I would like to close public comment. All right, open it up to the board to deliberate. What are we thinking, guys?
On the plans, it shows elevation 13, which is kind of where the start of that slope toward Barbara Lane is that grade gonna be maintained even throughout construction, or is that grade gonna change as part of the construction? It doesn't really look like it, based on the proposed site plan versus the existing, but is there gonna be any backfilling or raising of the grade in the backyard?
We're not planning any fill.
Okay.
Because right now, I believe the vents need to be at a certain elevation so that they work, so there's not gonna be any fill proposed.
Thank you.
If you run into an issue, like, would, maybe we'll special condition, you know, the origin of the fill, if you guys have to complete the project or to move forward? Does that
Okay.
sound good? You know, clean sand, wash sand, or 3/4 inch, nothing impermeable, you know, no gravel, anything like that.
Okay.
So, one thing that came to mind was, you know, that there is an increase in the kind of the footprint of the house, and this is in land subject to coastal storm flowage. So, one of the things that we always consider in a resource area like that is the effects of runoff. And so, a question that I had and something that I would like to propose, if it's amenable, you know, to the project, would be to consider making the driveway a pervious material instead of a paved material, because the contribution of the increased amount in impervious surface, in addition to, you know, any increase in roof size and runoff, would be something that if we can mitigate that with a pervious driveway, it would be great, and it would be kind of a best practice to do so.
Okay. There is an existing paved driveway.
Yeah.
So are you just asking about the increase in size of the driveway?
Yeah, because it's increasing in size, there's going to be increased runoff, so if the owners in the project would be okay with changing it to a pervious driveway instead, whether it be round wash native stone or shell or something like that, it would certainly,
Okay. I think they'd be amenable to that.
be more favorable for the resource area. That's the only other.
For the demolition of the, existing home, are we detailing any, like, erosion control methods to contain that process for the demolition?
I was just showing a limit of work. I was not showing erosion control just because there's no other, this is just for the flood zone. There's no other buffer zones in the area.
Yep.
We can certainly do that if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, probably where, you know, high-risk areas where it might be susceptible to,
Wattle and silt fence.
say, I don't know if you need the fence, probably just a wattle would probably be fine.
Okay.
You know, as a precaution.
Okay.
You're not disturbing the, well, actually, yeah, you kinda are, but, no, I think that should be fine.
You get the mitigation planting at 1:1, is that correct?
That's correct.
But later calculations is actually a little bit more than 1:1? And is the area in the same vicinity as the disturbance?
Per Josh's recommendation, I went by the Mashpee regs, and they don't have anything more than the 1-to-1 outside, just in the flood zone. They do if it was our buffer area.
Sure,
So I didn't look at more than a 1-to-1 on that.
it's always nice, but, okay.
John, anything? Good.
I don't know if it's covered in the first question, is the grades over the septic, are they gonna remain at the same pitch towards Arrowhead, or did that change?
The grades are gonna stay the same. Yeah, I kept it within natural grade.
So with the addition of the erosion control measures and the potential for changing to the pervious driveway, do you agree, James, that we would want to see these things as a plan revision before we close and approve it? just so that we're approving, you know, the most.
Yeah, at least, I guess,
Accurate project plan.
yeah, I think that would be good. Something detailed on the plan that says it's gonna be a pervious driveway, the note, or the detail that says what it's going to be. And then with the limit of work, including a line for erosion control to be up for the completion of the
I have
project.
details for that.
Yeah. And if you, for those changes, if you wanna just make the plan changes and submit the plan, you don't have to come back, because as long as those are the only things that have
Yeah.
changed about the project, you can just submit the plan and then we'll, you know, review it, and if everything's consistent with what we talked
Yeah,
about.
is
you're
that
opposed to
something
approve.
Josh can review rather than
Well,
coming back to the
You
commission?
wouldn't have to come back physically, but just submit the plans and we would review it at the next meeting and then just close it.
We'll
and
just,
approve
yeah,
it.
we're gonna continue this, and then you can just submit in the next 2 weeks.
But you wouldn't have to physically be here because we
Okay.
wouldn't be deliberating any of
Okay.
that stuff over.
Got it.
Sound good?
Sounds great to me.
All right.
Would you want to, what's our next meeting, the 7th?
The 7th of August.
Would that be a sufficient timeline to get those changes in and submitted, the 7th of August?
That's fine, they have to be in the Friday prior.
So,
So,
August 2nd.
Everyone's waiting to get going on this, so any additional time is
Yeah, no doubt.
unfortunate for us, but we'll take it as the approval comes.
Absolutely, okay. Does anyone wanna take a motion, or?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to continue DEP file number SC 66-2022, Brian Albano, care of GeoCape Environmental Consultants, for the notice of intent to raise and replace a dwelling and install a 4-bedroom septic system at 7 Barber Lane, Sandwich, Mass, located at map 70, parcel 140, to the August 7th, 2024 meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your new appointments.
Thank you. All right, I would like to open DEP file number SE 6620, Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, care of Comprehensive Environmental, who have filed a notice of intent to extend a concrete generator platform with roof and downspouts at 164 Route 6A, Sandwich, located at map 43, parcel 19001. How's it going?
Matt Lundstedt, I'm with Comprehensive Environmental. I have Caleb from the fishery, the hatchery, and Ian is our wetland scientist. I didn't grab the green cards because due to a DEP snafu with our check, that's why you don't have a file number, so we're gonna have to continue, obviously, because of that. I can mail them or scan them and send to you the receipts, the original receipts, not the green cards back, but the receipts were in the NOI. There were no technical comments yet. I checked again right before the hearing on the DEP site. They acknowledged a check number, but still haven't issued a file number, so we'll have to continue for that anyway. Basically, this project is buffer impact only. They're adding a generator. When power goes down, they lose. They can lose fish. So this was the result of a study that HDR did. We're a sub to HDR on the fishery, and this was the top recommendation for this site, was to install a new generator. It's basically just an extension of the existing building there, an 8x16 concrete pad with a generator on it. We'll connect the roof leaders to the existing roof to where they go. They basically just discharge to the surrounding area, and we're proposing some erosion controls. I think it's probably overkill, but just to be safe, because we don't know where this guy may stage his materials and work around the ongoing operation. We extended just around the limits of the wetlands. They basically follow more or less the edge of the woods there, if you've been to the site.
Yep.
That's about it.
All right, now I'd like to open public comment. I will close public comment. I will open it up to the board to deliberate.
So the generator that's there now underneath the awning, that's being removed and replaced, or there's another one going in addition?
We're gonna keep the old one, and this will be redundant, power, yeah. The old one isn't that old, so it really doesn't make sense to replace it at this point, but, we really need good backup power there, so we're gonna get a new one.
And
For the erosion control, are you doing fence and sock, or silt fence and sock, or were we just doing?
It'd be nice to just do sock. Because the land is flat out there and the amount of excavation is just enough for the pad, we can do both.
No, I think if you just did sock, but maybe just increase the size to like 12-inch rather than 8-inch.
is there any concern of like silt migration with just the sock? Like, would we want to see a silt fence that's dug in because of the, kind of the downslope riverfront area? Like a lot of times in a BVW buffer like this, we'll have the silt fence dug in, 6 inches or whatever, right? As part of
This
the erosion control.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is a situation where you could consider that, with the proximity of the resource area to the project and the fact that the erosion control wouldn't extend any sort of gratuitous length, you may want to consider having a dug-in silt fence.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we can propose a silt fence along that buffer zone with the sock, and then, just as a precaution, maybe make a note to require like a sock around stage materials and spoils, stuff like that, just as an extra precaution because we're so close. I'd say that would be a pretty good idea.
Is the new generator, it looks like the existing one is a gas generator. Is the new one gas as well, or is it going to be
Natural
diesel?
gas, yeah. There'll be no diesel fuel stored inside.
And you don't have to upgrade the line?
No.
Okay, perfect. Okay. John?
What's the size of the new generator, like electrically?
100 kW,
So it's relatively.
exactly the same as the one that's there now.
Linda, anything? Nope. All right. Well, okay, so we'll continue to the next meeting, but it looks like you guys just kind of have to get that, and then just make a note for the fence and the sock around proposed storage areas.
We'll update the plan, send that along.
Yeah.
Did you want the green cards, or I can scan and email them? It's up to you guys, or mail them.
You can submit them digitally, that's fine.
Okay.
Usually, what we used to do is always accept them at the meeting prior to the opening of the hearing.
Right,
But
right.
if you want to send it to Sean, that's okay digitally.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I saw that DEP didn't give us a file number, so I didn't swing back in the office and grab them, so.
Great.
Okay,
All right,
thank you very much.
So, Linda, do you want to make a motion to continue?
Yes, I make a motion to
Yeah.
continue, I don't know how to state this because it's not a
Just
number.
just read right from there, the DEP file number.
File number SE 66-20XX, Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, care of Comprehensive Environmental, Inc. Route 164, Route 6A, Sandwich. And I'm making a motion to continue the meeting
To August 7th.
till August 7th. And the plan will be updated by the Friday before to include the silt fencing and the sock
Yep. Perfect.
fence. And then you're going to send in the abutter cards, is that?
Yes, digital.
Or digital?
I'd also note, if DEP ends up having any technical comments that affect the plans, we'll address those too and revise before we resubmit.
Okay.
Long motion. Second. Do you want to redo it?
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, Linda, you can just read the language as it is from DEP file number down to parcel 19-001. And then the easiest thing to do is just to say, to make the motion to continue to the August 7th meeting as discussed.
Oh, okay.
And that will capture the things that the commission had.
So you want me to read it again?
Sure, if it pleases the chair.
Absolutely.
Then that's great.
So I make a motion for to continue DEP file number SE66-20XX, Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, care of Comprehensive Environmental, Inc., who's filed a notice of intent to extend a concrete generator platform with roof and downspouts, 164 Route 6A, Sandwich, Mass., located at map 43, parcel 19-001, as discussed.
To what date?
Up to August 7th.
Discussed. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Very much.
All righty.
Have a good night.
All right, I would like to open new filing, DEP file number SE66-2023, Marion Sullivan, care of Marsh Matters Environmental, who has filed a notice of intent for construction of a garage with a two-story apartment and replacement of a septic tank at 148 Route 6A, Sandwich, Mass., located at map 73, parcel 76-0.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. I'm well. My name is Mike Ball. I'm Marsh Matters Environmental. I'm representing the applicant, Marianne Sullivan of Sullivan and Sullivan Auctioneers. I'm here with Al Osgood, who was helping Marianne with project planning and design. This, as you mentioned, is a notice of intent for a garage with apartment project at 148 Route 6A. This is a 0.33 acre lot. Currently supports the small business building of Sullivan and Sullivan Auctioneers. If you recall, this, I think before that was an attorney's office. I think before that was a Sweet Tomatoes, if you've been here long enough. That was the original location. I'm not sure what it was before that, but it's been a lot that's been in existence for a long time. It is a lot that is fully developed with pavement and structure, except for a portion of the marsh. Based on my estimation or my assessing of the site conditions, the entire lot, including the lot next door, which is a residence, is all fill. Let's see, so we're proposing, or the Sullivans are proposing a 24 by 36 garage with a second floor apartment atop the garage. The current business does not have any covered storage for their business vehicles, and that's one of the main reasons they'd like to put this building in, is to have that cover and then provide a small amount of living space above that garage. Al Osgood did the plan, the elevation designs, and that's part of your package as well. The plan was done by Shane Mallon. I don't know if you're familiar with Shane Mallon. He and I worked at Baxter & Nye for a number of years. He's now on his own, so his name is on the site plan. Pete McEntee of Engineering Works did the actual placement of the structure and the septic system improvements, which are also part of the project. As I mentioned, the septic improvements are going to be proposed, and that just includes a septic tank replacement and a new distribution box. A new water service is also required. Again, all this work will be performed on an existing paved surface, except for one of two dry wells that will be installed to accept roof runoff from the site. So the project plan that is up on the screen right now does not show those two dry wells, but the plan that I submitted last week, and it's in your file, does show those two dry wells with a cover letter. Small office building I mentioned, paved surface, resource areas. So the resource areas are all associated with Dock Creek. Dock Creek is a perennial stream that flows to the ocean. If you're familiar with Dock Creek, it's got at least three tidal restrictions to the north of this particular site. All the water flows under culverts, under Liberty Street, under the railroad, and under 6A. So probably at one time, this marsh was salt marsh, maybe a long, long time ago, but due to the restrictions and lack of salt water, predominance of fresh water, it conforms to BVW and is an impacted marsh in that it's currently supporting just Phragmites. The Dock Creek itself does have a riverfront area. Both the 100 and 200 foot limits of that riverfront area are shown. All the work is happening in the outermost portion of the riverfront area. No work is in the inner riverfront area. Because this site is fully developed with structure and pavement, it does qualify as a degraded, previously developed or degraded riverfront area in accordance with 310 CMR 10585. So project will not result in an increase in impervious surface. As I mentioned, the dry wells, we are improving on stormwater management because of those dry wells. Currently, there is no management. And as such, this project is considered a development project under the riverfront area regs. I'll just mention three important things from the regulations. It does conform as redevelopment, and there are certain criteria that accomplish the following. So the project does improve upon existing conditions by including one or more stormwater management measures, the dry wells that will capture and infiltrate roof runoff. Number two, locating the project in an area as far away as possible from Dock Creek. In this case, the project cannot be located outside the riverfront area due to property line constraints, but it is moved back as far as possible. And number three, the project does not increase the amount of existing degraded riverfront area. So there's no cutting of or removal of native trees or native vegetation. There should be some pruning of the Norway maples that run along the northwest parking lot margin, because if they're going to put a structure there, those branches are overhanging the parking lot, but there's no tree removal anticipated or proposed. I think that covers all the details. We'd be happy to answer your questions.
I'd like to open public comment. I'll close that, and I'll open it up to the board to deliberate.
So this, basically, most of the project is within the 50-foot to the BVW, right?
Correct.
So has there been any consideration for even going farther with the level of improvement to the site and elimination of pervious material? Because it's hard to tell, at least to me, looking at the site plan, but what is the property behind the building right now? Because obviously in the front and on the sides, it's clearly all paved, but I'm trying to load the pictures.
So the marsh basically is bounding the southwest margin of what's considered the developed portion of the property. So it looks like the property does contain some marsh, and then you can see that that sharp slope. That's a fill slope leading up to there's a swale there, narrow swale along the parking lot. Parking lot, existing structure. This is kind of what I colored up for you. Everything in yellow that's the existing building, as you know. What's in pink is the proposed structure. That's the proposed garage. What's in orange is the existing paved margin. And what's in green is the wetland boundary that I defined. What's in blue, or bold blue here, that's Dock Creek. And then what's in thinner blue, those are the riverfront area, 100 and 200 feet. So there's no proposal to remove or reduce the existing pavement. It is a business. They do need parking. So nothing's been proposed to, as mitigation for what's being proposed. Now, we understand, as most Cape Cod conservation commissions, they have a 50-foot buffer, no touch. In this case, as I mentioned, this is a redevelopment. This is, in terms of mitigation, really the main improvement is improving upon how stormwater is managed. I think if this was a situation where we were proposing work in the 50-foot buffer zone and we were asking to remove native vegetation or any vegetation cover inside that 50-foot, I think then the project would qualify as one that should provide mitigation. In this case, putting a building atop a paved surface and capturing all stormwater management, in my professional opinion, is not an impact to the resource areas.
It's obviously a tough site, but it does look like the proposed building is moving further into the buffer zone. Am I correct? It looks like the orange is a little bit closer to the buffer zone, or am I?
The building, the pink square right there, that is the building footprint, and that's, in the orange is showing the, yeah.
Okay.
So we're not going outside that paved surface.
Yeah, but are we going further into the wetland area? Into the buffer zone? Traveling that direction, is that north or is
I
that?
think that, yeah, the first really regulations that you have to follow when you're dealing with riverfront area and BVW is can this meet the riverfront area regulations? And as part of 310 CMR 10585, as a redevelopment project, you have to keep that project as far away from the
Right.
actual river, and that's what this project achieves. Yes, it's pretty close to a very impacted wetland buffer. Honestly, I don't think moving a building 10 feet one way or the other on a paved surface actually constitutes.
But you just can't, yeah, if you go left or right, you're fine, but you just can't go further into the buffer zone, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and we're not going further into the buffer zone?
We're not going further, we're not going to the extent that we need to remove any vegetation.
I would say it's not going further into the buffer zone insofar as it's already a fully developed pervious area in
Okay,
that
yeah.
buffer zone. But I see what you're saying
Right,
about you know,
okay.
a structure now existing on what was previously a flat plot that's moving into the buffer.
Right.
Like-
So we're not increasing pavement, we're not increasing structure, we're managing stormwater. So I do see this as a very different type of project where, yes, we're in the 50, but really moving a building one way or the other doesn't constitute an impact to the actual resource area.
Yeah, okay. And the 2 dry wells, is that, for a lack of a better term, is that overkill in the situation, or does that seem like it just kind of suffices where we're at?
What I submitted with this plan showing the dry wells is the calc sheet that Pete McEntee, the PE, did
Yeah.
for this project, and he basically, you go into the manufacturer's website, you say how much roof space do we have, what are the soils like, type that all in, it tells you how many dry wells that you
Yeah.
need, and it
Okay.
did come out with
2, okay.
2, yeah. So.
Do you think that maybe because it's such a high-risk resource area, we're doing a new development, that we might want to increase that to possibly 3? Do you think that would improve the actual project that's going on?
I think the improvement would be marginal. I guess I'm relying upon what the manufacturer says. They want to sell as many of those
Oh,
trucks
exactly,
as they
yeah.
can. Type in the numbers, they say you should have at least 2 or 2.
Because with the redevelopment part,
Yeah.
you know, we understand that you have to do that, and
So I see what James is driving at is, are we meeting the bare minimum or are we going above and beyond with the storage areas? Because on that drywall calculator sheet, you know, you have a field to enter the roof area, but you also have another field to enter drainage area 2, which they give the example of grass. But in this case, would drainage area 2 be the entirety of, you know, impervious surface that exists on the
Yeah.
property now?
So there's an improvement to the amount of stormwater that's being captured by the structure, the roof, which is the roof, gutters, downspouts, and then the dry wells. So there's that improvement. Obviously, anything not captured by that roof hits the pavement as it does now, flows to the back of the lot, and there's actually a little low point, travels over that low point into, down a grassy swale and then into the marsh.
right. So maybe we could, if we're installing 2 dry wells, maybe we could capture a dry well in that area? Would the client be,
Because
amenable?
one of the things that we, you know, look at, like, as part of 10.58.5 is, you know, taking steps that we can to prevent the wetland from, like, significant or cumulative effects, right?
Right.
One of those effects being any, you know, pre-existing or potentially increased runoff from the impervious areas and from the roof. So if we can do anything to make it even more compliant and just give a little bit more protection to the resource area, considering what's being done here, which is technically within the buffer zone on a very heavily developed and already degraded site, I think it would benefit the resource area in a big way.
So I think we'd agree there's going to be a benefit.
Right.
Stormwater management. You're just asking, could we do a little bit?
Right, because like right now, if we don't have any type of drainage that allows the drainage to stay on site from all the paved surfaces, right? Could we add that, and that would be an improvement to the project, along with what you're improving with this with the proposed building too.
Do you know, I'm going to just ask Al a question. Do you know if they capture stormwater runoff? I'm wondering if there's stormwater runoff captured by the existing building.
Right.
I collect a lot of pictures. I do not have all my pictures with me, and I don't see anything on the plan indicating, downspouts and all that. But often you will see pipes going right into the ground, and you just assume there's a dry well there. So we could find that out.
I would like to see another dry well on the site to capture some of that if we could.
That's just the type of dry wells that were required back in that day.
Right.
Yeah.
So like we're at a standard from when the building was built.
Right.
And now we're improving the project, so let's improve, do you think we could do that?
Or if that was not as amenable to the project, we could definitely consider making the entire site a pervious material instead.
It's a big ask. It's a big ask.
Just throwing it out there. Best practice alternative.
I mean, obviously, these are pretty significant changes, and we want to talk to the engineer. Not being a PE, I'm a wetland scientist. Well, I have some pretty solid understanding of how to manage stormwater once it hits pavement, and where does it go from there. I don't want to start opining on what I think could be done there. That's definitely something for the engineer.
And now, is there any, from your expertise, is there any plantings that need to be done along where it touches the marsh that we could possibly improve, or did it seem like it was a healthy area? I know you guys aren't disturbing anything, but you're in there doing it. Some plantings could help it.
I mean, there's really the only open area is that narrow strip of grass at the margin of the parking lot.
Yep.
I think planting woody vegetation in that very narrow strip, we're talking a couple of feet, I don't necessarily think that would have an impact on capturing. It's dense grass, and which does provide some capture. And then as soon as you get over that embankment, it's solid pepper bush and different things. So I don't think there's any opportunity to add plantings.
But even with the storm water management, mitigating whatever we can do from the parking lot, it would allow plants to grow into that area, right?
Possibly.
Over time,
Possibly. I mean, the only thing, I'm not proposing this, but the only thing I was thinking is where that water leaves the paved surface behind the existing office building, where it's low, you can see where the water pools and then goes over. You could put some type of small facility. It's just a bank, so I'm just not sure what the correct, I guess we call it an application, would be to capture. If you had more space between the pavement and the wetland, and those spaces go away once you start filling wetlands.
Right.
If you had space, you could put a check dam. You could just to slow the water down, capture the sediment, something that could be cleaned out.
Yeah.
You could have a rain garden in there, but there just isn't room. So I'm thinking there might not be enough room, but we could certainly look at that.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, hearing the commission discuss the filing, I would just want to point out to the board that, part of the regs here that has been going around 1058.5, really states that when you have a project in a degraded riverfront area, there has to be some improvement to the existing condition of the area. And I think the commission's on the right track trying to find, what that improvement can be. But having visited the site, I think there's a lot of room for the board to interact with the applicant here, make suggestions. You know, there were a couple of things floated, including the dry well that you brought up. The pervious, or the impervious surface here that populates the existing lot, you know, could be made pervious by some percentage, especially in areas that are closer to the BVW as it comes up right on the southwestern side of the lot. There's the possibility, I don't know if the commission has thought of maybe a riprap swale at the edge of the paved lot there, south of where the building is supposed to go in. Something like that could attenuate flow, you know, in a way as it comes off of pervious or impervious surface. So there is a corridor between where the pavement ends and where the top of the bank exists and Japanese knotweed sets in, where you could have a vegetated buffer strip of some native shrubs that could also serve to heighten the buffer zone's filtration capacities. So I think the commission has got a lot of options here, and it's just a matter of, you know, trying to see what exactly, you know, we want. But I think it's great that you know, we're talking about improving existing conditions.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
So maybe even, yeah, no, that's fine. Maybe even, like with this grass area, if I'm looking at it correctly, behind the existing building, right?
Yep.
So it looks like it's maybe 10 feet of pavement, and then it turns into grass. I have this right here. It looks like the generator's right there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So is there, you know, from, you know, you can ask the engineer about what he thinks about stormwater management, and then maybe something from your side with the wetland specialist part, of some type of mitigation or.
And to kind of bring it
adding, yeah.
full circle, you know, in my opinion, I wouldn't be comfortable improving it unless we could gain a little bit more on the, you know, the stormwater management side, just because it is such a heavily degraded site as it is. That would make it a lot more consistent with what I would want to see from a conservation standpoint.
So, I think we can continue this. Would you like to do further than what is it, August 7th? Would you like to have, you know, 2 more meetings to maybe?
I'd like to continue to, what's the next meeting?
August 7th?
August 7th.
We've got the 7th, and then we've got the 21st.
Okay, so August 7th, so that would mean we'd have to have basically revised plans to a week in advance.
By the Friday before.
So it'd be tight. So what, I'd continue to that date, and then if we weren't in a position to submit, then I can just contact Sean and Josh and say, we're gonna need to continue. I'm not sure, it all depends obviously on the engineers. And we just have to talk to the applicant and stuff. But, I mean, it is possible that we could come back and the engineer, in his professional opinion, says there's just no opportunity here. I think probably there is something that he's gonna, whether it's a narrow rain garden, something, I think I'm listening that you just want some more capture.
Yeah, exactly.
Not necessarily related to what's being proposed, but what the degraded conditions, how can we further improve?
Yeah.
So, I guess.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Can I just ask, is that okay? Do you think Mary Ann's gonna be okay with that?
I think she will. I just want to mention that the discussion of the siting of the proposed project not only took into consideration the wetlands, but we also had to consider zoning.
Right.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
so
Tough site, absolutely. Yeah.
that was our building envelope.
Right.
That area was a strictly researched building envelope
Yep.
to meet both boards.
Perfect.
Okay. So, and I just mentioned to Michael that there is a consideration for employee parking that the building takes away from. And so if the area to consider becoming pervious were to go no further towards 6A than the rear of the existing building. That would help the paved area
Yeah, capture. Yeah.
employee parking.
Yep. All right, awesome.
Okay, yeah, I'll make a motion to continue DEP file number SE 66-2023, Mary Ann Sullivan, care of Marsh Matters Environmental, for the notice of intent for construction of the garage with a second-story apartment and replacement of a septic tank at 148 Route 6A, Sandwich, Mass., located at map 73, parcel 76-0, to the August 7th conservation meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moved. We'll
Thank
see you
all.
guys
Good
then.
discussion, good discussion. Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
All right, I would like to open, under new filings, DEP file number SE 662021, Kenneth Lomaggio, care of Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors, for filing a notice of intent to elevate and increase an existing foundation to a single-family home, construct a new rear deck, landing and stairs at 4 Arrowhead Circle, East Sandwich, Mass., located map 70, parcel 149-0.
Good evening. For the record, Tim Santos from Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. Also with me this evening is Ann McNevich, the architect. Property before you is 4 Arrowhead Circle. It's currently developed with an existing single-family home, gravel driveway. The resource areas on or within 100 feet of the property are salt marsh to the east, and then the entire site is in land subject to coastal storm flowage, the flood zone. I believe it's an AE 14. We're here tonight proposing to elevate the existing structure. It's going to remain within the same footprint, and we're going to plan on raising it, raise the foundation below it in order to bring the house into flood zone compliance. While doing this, we're also proposing new landings and steps to get out of the new elevated house. And the deck that you see on that plan was previously approved administratively by Josh. We've just added a new set of landing and steps because it's been slightly elevated. I do show a limit of work. Probably I would just assume we could go with a straw wattle that kind of wraps around just so there's no further cutting of trees that are there. They'll all remain. It's an existing gravel driveway. No increase in bedrooms or anything. We're just looking to elevate the house to meet flood zone and FEMA and building code requirements. So if the board has any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them.
I'd like to open public comment. I'd like to close public comment and open it up to the board for conversation.
So what's the foundation now? Is it just a regular, concrete foundation and then it's being
basically was the garage or the apartment above.
Oh, so it's just a slab on grade now?
Most of it, but then there's an area that had a bathroom and laundry and things like that.
Yep. So is it gonna be a full basement now? Or is
No,
it
no,
just-
there'll be no basement.
Oh, okay,
The
so it's
slabs-
still gonna be the slab, but
The
the
foundation
structure-
and the slab will remain, there's no excavation.
Okay.
And then they're gonna jack the house up, crib it up, and then they'll extend the foundation up with blocks.
Gotcha.
And it's the same footprint,
Same footprint,
except the,
except for the deck and landings, yes.
Is there any, for the deck and the landings, are they doing concrete sonotube footings or what's the,
Yes, it's not in due.
yeah? Oh yeah, I see it there. the
We
big
did submit
concrete
architectural
bricks. Yep,
plans.
I see that now, on the deck framing plan. And are those gonna be just dug by, how are those gonna be dug? Just by like a small auger or whatever?
I'm assuming it would be a small, like little mini
Yeah.
machine or auger. It wouldn't be a
There's really
big-
not gonna
big
be any like
excavator.
full-scale excavation
No.
equipment going in and out of the site.
The only excavation that would be required would be for just the sonotubes.
No updated utilities or upgraded utilities?
I mean, interior maybe, but
No,
nothing
nothing
coming.
for services coming in.
No, there's already some air conditioning units outside that are
Okay.
attached to the building.
Yeah, well, I mean like a gas.
No new
line,
gas, no new water,
electrical.
no underground electric,
Okay.
no.
Perfect.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Good to me. Josh, was there anything that
I don't have anything at this time, I was out there at the site today and, the way it kind of pitches down towards the marsh doesn't really strike me chair can.
You can.
I'll make a motion. I would like to make a motion to close and approve DEP file number SE 662021, Kenneth Lamaggio, care of Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors, for a notice of intent to elevate and increase an existing foundation to a single-family home and construct a new rear deck, landing and stairs at 4 Arrowhead Circle, East Sandwich, Mass., located map 70, parcel 1490, as discussed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
All right, moving to continued filings, I would like to open SE 66-2013 AM1 Michael Tabalone, care of Atlantic Design Engineers, for filing an amended notice of intent to remove and replace the staircase at 217 Phillips Road, Sandwich, Mass., located at map 96, parcel 16.
And just so you know, James, I'm
Hey,
gonna
how are you guys?
abstain from this one just because I haven't done the missed meeting certification yet, so just so you're aware.
All
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. My name's Asa Smith. I work for Atlantic Design Engineers, who's representing Mike Tavalone, the owner of 217 Phillips Road. As discussed during the June 26th hearing, the applicant is requesting to replace the existing 2-foot wide wooden stairs to a new width of 4 feet using pressure-treated lumber. Due to the widening of the stairway, the existing retaining wall will be reworked using pressure-treated lumber where necessary. The landing of the stairs will be rebuilt and enlarged to fit the 4-foot width using pressure-treated lumber, and there's no proposed change to the existing walkway above the stairs. Per our discussion at the last hearing on June 26th, we have revised the structural plans by Churchill Engineering with a revision date of July 7th to remove all mention of concrete footings, and have provided additional detail dated July 8th, which shows the proposed wooden footings to be added. As an FYI, the architect submitted 2 copies of the same footing detail dated July 8th. One was stamped and one was not stamped. It looks like I accidentally sent over the non-stamped detail, and per my discussions with Josh today, I submitted the stamped copies prior to the meeting to avoid any confusion. There are no changes between the stamped version that was sent today and the version that was sent on Friday. Since we'll be using the wooden footing shown with no concrete involved, we believe this plan is in accordance with the Commission's design preferences and the WPA Policy 85-4. We respectfully request that this amendment be approved as shown. I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Yeah, I think the biggest one was that concrete detail. You guys remember this one?
I was just a little confused, but I was looking at an older
Okay.
plan, so there's going to be no concrete.
No concrete.
Josh, do you have the special conditions? Do you remember what they were? Do you want me to reread them, or?
If you could do that. I have one suggestion for a special condition, but if you want to reread what you have.
I just had the stairs to remain the same size and no concrete.
Okay.
The concrete detail removed from the plans, no concrete used inside that area, and then stairs to remain the same size. That's what I wrote, but I don't remember. Oh, yeah, I said that.
I mean, as far as I know, and maybe Hazel can correct me here, or affirm this, but the width of the stairs is not increasing substantially.
Well, it's going from 2 feet wide to 4 feet wide. And the main reason is that 2 foot wide stairs, they're not great for accessing the building. The owners are actually, elderly, and they have issues climbing up them as they are. So the big reason for this request is to widen those to make it a little bit more accessible.
Mr. Chairman, one of the special conditions that the Commission had discussed previously had been that if there is damage to the retaining wall as it exists, that can be repaired using 4x4 pressure treated.
Yep.
But the retaining wall may not be enlarged or expanded.
Yes.
Beyond what it is now.
Okay.
And the only other special condition here that I would, or special condition that I would recommend is that this filing came to the Commission as the result of enforcement, unfortunately.
Yep.
So there are elements of the property that need to be brought into compliance, such as the unauthorized driveway and the coastal dune. So the Commission should have a condition that states that the order of conditions must be carried out satisfactorily, or else the Commission, conduct further enforcement.
Make sense?
Yep, makes sense.
All right. All right, anyone want to do a motion? Do it up.
We're gonna move to close and approve, right?
Yeah, we'll do close and approve.
I will move to close and approve SE 662013, AM1, Michael Tavalone, CO Atlantic Design Engineers, which filed an amended notice of intent to remove and replace a staircase at 217 Phillips Road, Sandwich, Mass., located at map 96, parcel 16, with standard and special conditions as discussed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you, guys.
All right, moving on to enforcement. I would like to open restoration order SCC 2024 RO-01, the Briar Patch land encroachment at 0 Garley Lane, 39-7-0, and 34 Discovery Hill Road, 39-122-0. How we doing?
Good evening. For the record, Lauren Taylor with Crawford Land Management. Nick Crawford is also here. We're here on behalf of Tom Davis, who is the property owner at 23 Sea Meadow Drive. So I'm sure most of you are already familiar with this project. I think it's been discussed at hearings before. It is a restoration order for some unauthorized work that was completed on 0 Gully Lane and 34 Discovery Hill Road. So Tom Davis, the owner of 23 Sea Meadow, he had reached out to us to put together a restoration plan, and we had worked with Strong Tree Engineering to complete the survey and existing conditions plan. So the restoration plan is broken into a couple components. So there's the vegetation restoration piece of it, which we divided into areas 1 and 2. So area 1 is on the more left side of the screen if you're looking at it. There's kind of two components of it. There's the dot hatch more in the center portion, and then the dash hatch on the top and bottom of the screen. So the dot hatch is, we actually looked at it as an opportunity to create a new type of habitat on the property that's different than what's there right now. So we're proposing it as a pollinator meadow habitat just because it has a less complete tree canopy than some of the other portions of the site. So we thought that was a good opportunity to introduce some new native grasses and wildflowers. And to do that, the protocol would be to mow the grasses down to, because it's existing grasses right now and it's pretty dense. So we would mow that down to a height of about 1 to 2 inches in the fall. We would use a dethatcher tool to scarify the soils and loosen the soil surface so we get good seed to soil contact. And then we would seed into the soil with a slice seeder, again in the fall. And then we do maintenance for a couple seasons, and that would just include treating any aggressive or weedy vegetation, and then also mowing a couple times a year, once in the early spring to support cool season growth, and then again in the early summer to support warm season growth. So that's kind of the protocol for that pollinator meadow habitat. And then the other portions that have that dash hatch, we call that out for a shady ground cover mix just because, I mean, you can see there's a lot more trees in those portions of the site, so it does have more complete canopy cover and it is shady. So we call out a shady ground cover mix just to get a good ground cover layer established. And then we also call out some native shrub species to be seeded. So that would mimic more of the existing conditions on the perimeter of the property where it is pretty heavily woodland. There's also an area towards the bottom right corner, that dash line, and we just call that out because it does have some native ground covers already, like low bush blueberry and whitewood aster. So we just call that out so that, you know, when work is being completed, crews know to watch out for that stuff and not slice seed into it or scarify those soils. Just so we can support what's already there and what's good. And then the second portion of it is area 2. That's off to the right side of the screen. It's kind of a plus hatch. So that's currently, it's a more recently disturbed area. Some of the areas in the area 1 zone, that appears like it was done quite a number of years ago and not too much has changed there recently, but area 2 seems like it's more recent disturbance. There's some debris piles, especially along the edge of it, including some larger cut trees. So as far as that goes, we would get rid of any of those debris piles, some of the easier ones that are on the edges. But as far as the bigger stuff goes, like the tree trunks, we would actually want to keep those in place just because it could actually do more harm than good to try to get them out since they are so large, and it would require bigger equipment to get those things out. And on the other hand, it's also really good habitat for things like woodpeckers and types of insects, and eventually when it decomposes, it helps enrich the soils there, so it actually provides a lot of benefits too. So we would leave those behind, and then in terms of revegetating that area, we considered bringing in some new plantings like trees and shrubs, but when we were thinking about it a little bit more, we decided that it might be smarter to work with what's already there. Just because nursery stock, it sometimes has trouble acclimating to site conditions, and it would require a lot of irrigation, which on this site would be difficult because you'd have to run it from, you know, probably the house, and it has to go a far ways. So it made more sense to work with what's there, especially because what's there is some young seedling and sapling trees that are like 3 to 4 feet tall. They've been there for a couple of years, so they've already been adapting to the site for a couple of years, so we thought it was smart to work with those. So in order to do that, we would have an ecological restoration practitioner come out and flag any of that stuff that we would want to keep. So in our office, that's Nick right here, he would go out and flag those things. And then we would do maintenance visits a couple times a year, and that would just be treating any invasive vines that are growing up onto it, since those tend to be a bit more aggressive. And then we would also use a brush cutter and just cut back vegetation to about 6 or 12 inches within 10 feet of the plant, just to give it some breathing room and limit, you know, the amount that it has to compete with other vegetation that's there, for things like water and sunlight and that sort of thing. So that's the vegetation piece of it. A couple smaller things. There was an elevated track system that's kind of that oval shape towards the top. So we would get rid of any of the gravel or base material that was put there to make that track system. The tracks are gone, so we would just get rid of that base material. And then there was some cut and fill work that was done to create that as well. That red area is where fill was placed, and the blue area was where we, you know, it seems like some cut was taken to try to level out that track system, so we'd restore those grades. We'd also restore some historic stone walls on the properties that look like they might have been altered in the past. And then finally, we would put property boundary markers, you know, just to clearly demarcate where those bounds are, you know, and make it clear for the future. And we would put a single split rail fence along 23C Meadow Drive, just as a barrier to prevent future encroachment. I think that covers pretty much everything. I don't know if you want to add anything, Nick, or if anybody has any questions, we're happy to answer those.
Yeah, I mean, the vegetation community on the right-hand side, the more recently disturbed area, it's definitely been disturbed for probably at least 2 years. The stump sprouts are 4 to 5 feet tall. The seedlings that are coming in and the native shrubs that are coming in that area are 3 to 4 feet tall. And so we just want to, we would just like the ability to manage some of the vegetation around those, to give them a head start and start to revegetate that area. As far as the cutting and filling, it's pretty, like Lauren said, it's pretty obvious where the cutting occurred, where the filling occurred. There's trees, you know, there's mature trees that were there before the cutting and filling on either side of the areas that were cut, so it will be relatively easy to figure out where to restore the grade to, basically connecting the dots from root collar to root collar on different species. And yeah, I think everything else that Lauren said was spot on, so if you have any questions.
I'd like to open it to public comment. Closing that, opening up to the board.
I actually,
Yeah, Coach, absolutely.
first, I want to comment that I just thought your letter was very responsive and very detailed. Appreciate that. The questions that I have are around maintenance, long-term maintenance. I think you mentioned grass mowing and other things that are going to grow, but who is actually going to be responsible for maintaining them? Because is it?
I mean, practice and in theory, it would be someone that works alongside an ecological restoration practitioner, either ourselves or another company that's qualified to implement the work. But I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
But it's town, it's conservation property. correct? The restoration area? So,
The property owner would be responsible for hiring a consultant or a contractor to do that work. And there's certain qualifications that are spec'd on the plan that ensure that they are using the right contractors to do the job, like using a certified ecological restoration practitioner, somebody with a license to apply herbicides, a qualified machine operator, those sort of things.
How long do you think the maintenance program will go on for?
I mean, typically we maintain these invasive restoration projects for 3 years. Given that there's very little invasives on site right now, I think that it would be relatively minimal. I think 3 years would give the project a good head start. And obviously if you could go out there, you know, every 5 years after that and give it a once over, that'd be great. But, you know, I assume the restoration order has some sort of timeline associated to it, like is relative to like an order of conditions or something of the sort.
Yeah, the timeline for the restoration order really is to kind of move with the as much swiftness as possible.
Mhm.
And I think the commission is good to ask about commitments in the future to maintain pollinator habitat, just because that will actually fall to our department.
Right.
Once the time frame passes where the initial work has been accomplished by your company here. So, but we would certainly be in there monitoring on a frequent basis, multiple times, per year.
Yeah.
And that's been the case since this encroachment was discovered in the dead of winter. And actually, one of the things that our department would like to do is create a trail up the side of it, coming in upslope or downslope of the railroad materials as they exist now, coming up and then along on the bottom, moving south to daylight the area more to pedestrian traffic,
Right.
so that hopefully this kind of thing doesn't happen again.
And then just to clarify, the maintenance so far as the mowing is concerned, the mowing's only to encourage the area to develop into pollinator habitat. So we want to, that early season mow is encourage the cool season grasses to come up. The early summer mow is to knock the cool season grasses down so that the warm season grasses and pollinator species come up. And once they're established, it shouldn't really need to be mowed other than either maintaining some sort of path or something of the like.
And would your company take on that responsibility during these stages?
Yeah,
Is
we
that the
certainly
intent
could.
here, that
That's the intent. I mean,
contract with
we don't have a signed contract to implement the work at this point and we usually don't until there's an approved plan. But that would be the intent.
Well, if the commission approves the plan tonight, or at the point when the commission does approve the plan, then that signed contract is certainly a document that the commission would need for its files in order to move forward with the restoration.
Right.
One thing I would just kind of say with advising, 23 and 25 were brought in here together. 23 has taken all of this, as you guys have known. 25 has given us a notice that no one trespasses. So I would just advise with that one. And then the only other thing was the split rail is going just past 23. And maybe Josh, you can answer, can we extend that to 25? Or through the rear side of 25?
At this point, I would say, because and I wasn't able to draft a letter for you to sign, unfortunately, but our department will that releases 25C Meadow from the restoration order. But under the restoration order as it exists now, then the symbolic barrier would only go across 23C Meadow Drive.
Okay.
Although the letter to 25C Meadow would certainly caution them against any land encroachments of their own. And the nice thing about this plan is that it does show what the commission suspected, which is that the stone walls do mark the property lines pretty accurately. So I don't think anyone has to worry
plan looks great.
Yeah, I think it's very comprehensive.
I appreciate your efforts. I think it's, I'm actually shocked to see it this early. Like, that was, what, only 3 months ago that he was in here, so.
April.
That's actually a good thing, so. All right, I guess we can make a motion to close and approve it.
Maybe, my suggestion would be to make a motion to approve the, proposed restoration plan as submitted by Crawford Land Management, as discussed.
Yeah.
That would be my suggestion. And to require the contract be provided for when, Mr. Davis.
Can you guys include in that contract the maintenance schedule?
Yeah, it would
So-
be a full soup to nuts
Yeah.
initial implementation, whatever it may be, you know, removal of woody debris, then regrading, whatever the initial work would be
Right.
that we've shown here. Then after that, there would be probably year 1, year 2, or oh my God, year 1, year 2, year 3 maintenance, and typically we do it on an hourly basis because you don't know exactly what it's going to be.
Yep.
But you know, I think that the plan did outline a rough timeline so far as the early mowing,
Yeah.
the late mowing, and then, you know, 90% of any of the vegetation maintenance so far as invasives and weedy species that occurs, you know, throughout the growing season, with the exception of like garlic mustard or velvet grass or something that's a cool season.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just add in one more thing too, which is that the motion should include the acceptance of the land management plan as submitted by Crawford Land Management, with the requirement that the contract be provided between the contractor and the property owner, Thomas Davis, and that upon satisfaction of that requirement, the commission will waive the further requirement under the restoration order to secure the performance bond.
Okay.
So may I just ask clarification? Not from you guys, I just, in procedure. So what happens if the landowner doesn't sign it?
He's still under the enforcement of the restoration order.
Right, so do we follow up on that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll just continue, yeah. Yeah, court, legal. But it seems like with everything.
Well, it
he's
seems
a-
like he's being cooperative.
Yeah, right.
Not-
All right, does anyone want to take a shot at it? Close and approve?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve Crawford Land Management's plan for the restoration order SCC 2024 RO-01 for Briar Patch land encroachment at 0 Gully Lane 39-7-0 and 34 Discovery Hill Road 39-122.
Contract.
Yeah, with the contract to be provided to the commission detailing the restoration work as well as the
And then,
maintenance plan.
yeah, and then if that contract's provided, commission will weave, is that the right word?
Yeah,
A
the
weave
commission
the
will
performance
waive-
To waive,
to waive
sorry,
the
thank you.
requirement.
And upon receipt of that contract, we'll waive the requirement for a performance bond, yeah.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for a great plan.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, moving to extensions, I would like to open original filing DEP file number SE 66-1809 Davis Marcus, care of Prime Engineering Incorporated, who filed a notice of intent for proposed dune beach replacement via core envelope, installation and sand nourishment and stair deck repair at Assessors Map 85, Parcel 13, located at 92 Salt Marsh Road, East Sandwich, Mass. Huh? Yeah, I thought,
Okay, we can still.
I thought that guy in the back was waiting. Where did he go?
Was that the landowner?
No.
Oh,
No, that wasn't. Is there a letter to read here?
Yes.
Okay.
one line.
I would like to read the, is there any public comment? Close public comment. I would like to read a letter from David Marcus, dated Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024, regarding SE 66-180992 Saltmarsh Road, Sandwich, Mass. Would you please extend the above order of condition extension permit due to expire on 11/15/24? Signed, Davis Marcus. I will submit the 75D covered. Thank you.
All right. A motion?
Yep, and then the motion would be, I move to extend DEP file number for 3 years.
John, you want to shoot at?
Sure. So I will make a motion to move to extend original filing DEP file number SE 66-1809, David Marcus, CO Prime Engineering, Inc., filed notice of intent for proposed dune beach replacement via core envelope installation and sand nourishment and stair deck repair at Assessor's Map 85-Parcel 13, located at 92 Saltmarsh Road, East Sandwich, Mass.
For 3 years. 3 years.
Or, I'm sorry,
For 3 years.
for 3 days. 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Second.
Yes, that would be
Yeah.
for 3 years.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 On to other business.
One more thing.
Okay, is this other business?
This is a letter regarding the enforcement actions on Torrey Road from the consultant Arlene Wilson,
Okay,
updating the commission.
Do I have to open other business?
No, you can
Okay.
just
reading from AM Wilson Associates, dated Wednesday, July 17th, 2024, to Josh Wrigley. Josh, unfortunately, the Riccardelli and Carrier projects have taken longer than I originally projected. I have just got the worksheets back from our survey. Clearly, I will not be filing the project's NOIs tomorrow than I originally projected. With your approval, I would like to set the end of August as a revised submission date for both of these projects. That would give us likely hearing dates of 9/18/24. If I can get the filings made earlier, I will. Thank you for your patience. Arlene with AM Wilson Associates Incorporated. All right. So they're extended. Good.
So that's just an update to the commission.
Awesome.
The extension put down, signatures for the extension.
No. Oh, wait. Are there pages in there to sign? Sorry, I thought it was just a copy of the
Approval
letter.
of minutes?
I read them. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 1st, 2024, May 15th, 2024, and June 5th, 2024, as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make the motion to adjourn the meeting at
Okay, perfect. I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at, on July 17, 2024, at 7:58 PM.
Second.
Second?
Second.
Oh. All in favor? All right, sweet.
Nice work, James.
Well, I know the meeting's been adjourned, but we don't have to do a motion for this, the Tory Road enforcement.
No.
Great meeting. Thank you, everyone.
We did it.
Nice job.
Good job.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kimberly, for being the chair. And thank you, James, for being the chair.
Thanks.
All right, can I steal this from you?
You may. You may have it, yes.
All right, guys.